one case, we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions, and they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof.
Something huge just rocked the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it might spell disaster for one of its biggest stars. Ryan Reynolds, yes, Deadpool himself, is suddenly at the center of a shocking controversy involving Hollywood lawsuits, secret accusations, and a bombshell decision from Marvel Studios. And the craziest part, it all started with a completely unexpected feud between his wife, Blake Lively, and actor-director Justin Baldoni. So, what exactly went down? Why is Marvel reportedly cutting ties with Ryan Reynolds? And how did fake receipts and a $400 million lawsuit turn Hollywood upside down? Stick around, because this story is wild. Ryan Reynolds wasn't just another Marvel actor. He was the face of one of the studio's biggest and riskiest successes. Deadpool changed the game for R-rated superhero movies, breaking box office records, and proving that audiences were hungry for something different. When Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, fans feared the Merc with a mouth would be watered down, but instead, Reynolds doubled down on his iconic role. Fast forward to 2024, and Deadpool and Wolverine was on track to become one of the MCU's biggest hits, pushing towards the $1 billion mark at the box office. With Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine and Reynolds leading the charge, everything seemed perfect. But just as Deadpool was reaching new heights, a completely unrelated Hollywood scandal began brewing. One that would pull Reynolds into the chaos and put his future with Marvel at serious risk. It all started in late 2024 when Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds' wife, filed a shocking lawsuit against actor-director Justin Baldoni. The two had worked together on It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of the best-selling novel, but behind the scenes, things allegedly took a dark turn. Lively's lawsuit accused Baldoni of sexual harassment and claimed that he tried to manipulate the film's narrative to damage her reputation. Almost overnight, the case became one of the biggest scandals in Hollywood, with insiders picking sides and the internet exploding with speculation.
179-page Justin Baldoni lawsuit back to Blake. It all started for me because in August last year, I actually interviewed Blake for the movie It Ends With Us, right?
You're on the inside here.
Yes. I saw the movie, and it's based on a book which is much loved around the world, and it offers like a really nuanced take on domestic violence. And I thought this will be a really...
But just when things couldn't get any messier, Baldoni fired back with a $400 million lawsuit against not just Lively, but Ryan Reynolds and their publicists. His claims: defamation, conspiracy, and even extortion. And that's when Marvel started paying very close attention. At first, Marvel Studios seemed untouched by the drama. After all, this was a legal battle between actors. What did it have to do with the future of Deadpool? But as the lawsuits escalated, things took a turn that no one saw coming. Reports began circulating that Marvel was considering distancing itself from Ryan Reynolds altogether. The reason? The controversy surrounding his name was starting to overshadow the studio's carefully crafted image. With Deadpool and Wolverine nearing its release, the last thing Disney wanted was to be dragged into a high-profile Hollywood feud. Then came the bombshell. Insiders claim Marvel had quietly dropped Reynolds from future projects. While the studio hasn't made an official statement, rumors suggest that plans for Deadpool 4 and his larger role in the MCU are now on hold, or worse, canceled. If true, this would be a massive shift for the franchise. Reynolds wasn't just playing a character, he was Deadpool, and fans were already voicing outrage at the idea of him being replaced or written out. But Marvel's decision may have been influenced by something even bigger. Something that could change everything. As if the lawsuits weren't chaotic enough, things took a bizarre turn when Justin Baldoni allegedly produced receipts to prove his case. But there was just one problem. They might have been completely fake. According to sources close to the case, Baldoni's legal team presented emails, text messages, and other supposed evidence to support his claims against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. But soon after, whispers started circulating that some of these documents didn't add up. Screenshots were examined, metadata was questioned, and online sleuths even started breaking down inconsistencies in the timestamps. Before long, speculation exploded. Did Baldoni forge evidence to strengthen his case? If so, this could completely change the game. Not only would it undermine his entire lawsuit, but it could also explain why Marvel acted so quickly to distance itself from the controversy. No major studio wants to be tied to a Hollywood scandal involving potential fraud, and if Reynolds' name was being dragged into the mess unfairly, it would put everyone in a tough spot.
What's it like being part of that fantastic
franchise?
My
goodness. Well, that was just a neat little surprise. Rob Liefeld, who drew Lady Pool.
I love Rob.
He's cool,
Isn't
right?
he great?
Yeah. I had no idea, but in 2010, he drew Lady Deadpool. And at the same time, I was cast in the Green Lantern with my now husband, who is not my husband then.
But just when it seemed like things were spiraling out of control, a new wave of reports suggested something even crazier. Marvel's decision might not have been about the lawsuit at all. While the lawsuit drama dominated headlines, some insiders suggested that Marvel's decision to drop Ryan Reynolds might have been in the works long before the controversy even began. There had already been whispers in Hollywood that Disney and Marvel executives were rethinking Deadpool's future in the MCU. Despite Deadpool and Wolverine being a massive box office success, there were concerns about how an R-rated antihero fit into the broader, family-friendly Marvel franchise. Some reports hinted that Disney wasn't thrilled with how much creative control Reynolds had over Deadpool's character. From the beginning, he had fought hard to keep the raunchy, fourth-wall-breaking style intact, but with Marvel's recent struggles at the box office, studio execs might have wanted a fresh direction. And then there was the Hugh Jackman factor. The return of Wolverine gave Deadpool and Wolverine a huge boost. But was Marvel worried that Reynolds couldn't carry future projects on his own? With the X-Men reboot on the horizon and bigger plans for the MCU, was Deadpool slowly being pushed aside anyway? If Marvel was already planning to phase out Reynolds, the lawsuit may have just given them the perfect excuse to pull the plug. But was this the end for Deadpool in the MCU, or was something else going on behind the scenes? As soon as rumors broke that Marvel might be cutting ties with Ryan Reynolds, fans went into full meltdown mode. Social media exploded with outrage, with thousands of posts demanding that Marvel keep Reynolds as Deadpool. For many, this wasn't just about business, it was about loyalty. Reynolds had been fighting for Deadpool long before the character became a billion-dollar franchise. He was the one who leaked test footage back in 2014, forcing Fox to greenlight the first movie. He was the one who pushed for R-rated storytelling, even when studios doubted it would work. To fans, Reynolds is Deadpool, and replacing him would be a massive mistake. But it wasn't just the fans. Hollywood insiders were also raising eyebrows at Marvel's decision.
The timeline, I know, it gets a little like you need a conspiracy yarn to track it. But basically, there was no association with Ryan. Ryan had no association with Deadpool. I mean, he was supposed to make this movie, but it was a pipe dream. It wasn't ever really going to happen. And Rob Liefeld drew Lady Pool based on, he and his wife watched Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Some pointed out that Disney has a history of cutting ties with actors during controversy, only to bring them back later. Johnny Depp, anyone? Others speculated that Marvel's real motive wasn't the lawsuit at all, but rather a power struggle over creative control. Still, the biggest question remained, was Marvel really done with Ryan Reynolds, or was there a chance for a last-minute reversal? With Deadpool and Wolverine still raking in cash and fan demand at an all-time high, could the studio afford to walk away from one of its biggest stars? And then, just when it seemed like the dust was settling, a new development changed everything again. Just when it seemed like Marvel had made up its mind, New reports suggested that the studio might not be fully done with Ryan Reynolds after all. Despite the swirling controversy, Deadpool and Wolverine remained a massive box office success, proving that audiences still wanted more of his character in the MCU. As controversy swirls, new reports suggest that Marvel may be reconsidering its stance on Ryan Reynolds. While early rumors pointed to the studio quietly cutting ties with the actor, insiders claim that intense backlash from fans has forced executives to rethink their approach. After all, Deadpool is one of the few remaining guaranteed box office hits in the MCU. With the franchise struggling to replicate the success of its earlier phases, losing an established character, especially one as popular and profitable as Deadpool, could be a major financial mistake. The last few years have seen several Marvel films underperform or outright flop. The Marvels, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, leaving the studio desperate for a win, and right now Deadpool is that win. If Marvel drops Reynolds, it won't just mean recasting or shelving one character. It could throw the entire future of the MCU into question. With upcoming projects like Avengers, Secret Wars relying heavily on multiverse characters, Deadpool was expected to play a major role. If the studio pulls out now, they'll need to completely rework their plans, potentially delaying or derailing projects that were already in motion. So, the real question is, can Marvel afford to cut Deadpool loose just to avoid controversy? At the same time, there's another major factor that Marvel is likely considering: the ongoing legal battle between Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Ryan Reynolds. Right now, everything is messy, uncertain, and unpredictable. But if Baldoni's evidence turns out to be fake, as some sources have suggested, it could completely collapse his lawsuit.
So it just was just a crazy, it's just like how the world just kind of.
So he had already had you in mind for that?
He did. And then, my husband and I, got married, Deadpool was made, and then they were looking for a lady pool. So,
Rob Liefeld,
I was a veil.
allegedly watches this show.
Clearing Reynolds' name of any connection to the drama. If that happens, Marvel might have no reason to move forward with cutting ties. In fact, a major development like that could force the studio to backtrack and recommit to Reynolds, especially if fans continue pushing for his return. However, if things get even worse, if the lawsuit escalates, if new claims emerge, or if the controversy continues dominating headlines, Marvel might feel like it has no choice but to distance itself. While Reynolds himself isn't directly accused of anything, the ongoing chaos surrounding his name could make it easier for Disney to walk away quietly rather than deal with the public relations headache. At the end of the day, Marvel is playing a dangerous waiting game. If they act too soon, they risk alienating fans and losing one of their biggest stars for no reason. But if they wait too long and the controversy spirals, they could end up dealing with an even bigger fallout. So, what will Marvel do? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher. For now, everything remains uncertain. Ryan Reynolds hasn't made any public statements, Marvel Studios has remained silent, and the entire industry is left wondering, will Reynolds keep his spot in the MCU, or is this the beginning of the end for Deadpool as we know him? The lack of an official response from Marvel is telling. If there was no truth to the rumors, it would be easy for the studio to shut them down immediately. But the fact that insiders are reporting serious discussions behind the scenes suggests that Marvel is at least considering its options. And that's enough to send shockwaves through Hollywood. With the MCU struggling to regain its dominance at the box office, every decision Marvel makes right now is crucial. Losing Ryan Reynolds, especially after Deadpool and Wolverine, has proven to be a billion-dollar hit. Wouldn't just affect one character, it could impact the entire future of the franchise. If Marvel does cut ties with Ryan Reynolds, it wouldn't just be another casting change, it would be one of the biggest risks the studio has ever taken. Unlike other MCU characters who have been recast or phased out, Deadpool is in a completely different league. His entire identity is built around Reynolds' personality, humor, and creative vision, making him nearly impossible to replace. The numbers don't lie. Deadpool isn't just a successful franchise, it's one of the few remaining surefire box office hits in the MCU. While other Marvel films have struggled to perform in recent years, Deadpool and Wolverine is proving that audiences are still willing to show up if the content delivers. Removing Reynolds from the equation could turn fans against the franchise in a way Marvel isn't ready to handle. If Marvel were to move forward without Ryan Reynolds, they'd be left with two messy options. Recast Deadpool, this would be a public relations disaster. Fans have already shown they won't accept just anyone in the role. Remember the backlash when rumors of a PG-13 Deadpool circulated? Unlike Spider-Man or even Wolverine, characters that have had multiple actors, Deadpool is so closely tied to Reynolds' personality that a recast would feel completely off. The internet would explode, and Marvel would likely face massive pushback from fans and critics alike. Write Deadpool out of the MCU. This might be an even bigger mistake. With the X-Men reboot on the horizon and Deadpool's established connection to multiversal storylines, removing him now would be a wasted opportunity. Marvel already has issues with declining audience interest, and getting rid of one of its most bankable characters could accelerate that downward trend. On the flip side, keeping Ryan Reynolds means navigating the ongoing controversy. While he hasn't been personally accused of anything, his connection to Blake Lively and the lawsuit involving Justin Baldoni puts him in a complicated position. Marvel and Disney have always been extremely protective of their brand, and if the legal drama continues to dominate headlines, they might decide it's easier to cut ties before things spiral further. However, there's a wild card in play, the fake receipts controversy. If Baldoni's so-called evidence turns out to be fabricated or unreliable, it could completely discredit his case. This would not only clear Ryan Reynolds from any association with the drama, but could also put pressure on Marvel to reverse any decisions made in haste. But if things get worse, if new allegations surface, or if the legal battle drags on indefinitely, Marvel may feel it has no choice but to move on. At this point, nothing is set in stone. Marvel hasn't made any public statements about Reynolds' future, and with Deadpool and Wolverine still dominating the box office, the studio may be hesitant to make any major moves, at least for now. But behind the scenes, discussions are definitely happening. So, what do you think? Is Marvel really willing to drop Ryan Reynolds, or is this all just Hollywood noise? Can Deadpool survive without him? Or would this be one of the biggest casting mistakes in MCU history? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is far from over.